Just my gut.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending our council meeting this August 12th of 2025. And I do appreciate everybody turning out this evening. It does please me when I see people attend the council meetings. I may not say that in an hour or two, but that's okay. That's all right. Roll call. Cat Berry.
Here.
David Harwood.
Here.
Melissa Pickett.
Here.
Doug Matheson. Here. Pete Green.
Here.
Okay, everyone's in attendance. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, council approval of minutes, July 8th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or changes requested on the minutes?
I gave one slight change to Hillary.
Hillary, okay, we do have one change Hillary's going to make. All right. So we have first, second, and Kat.
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete?
Aye.
Okay. Adoption of the regular agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, Kat?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is adopted. Consent agenda, budget amendment 2025-16 in the Middle Fork Greenway easement. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, and no discussion on consent. Kat?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. Pete?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda is approved. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be going into our 3 minutes that you may speak. Okay, this is something that I've had to do a fair amount of research on and with legal advice. On February 13th, 2025, we held a neighborhood meeting. Or Shops on the Parkway held a neighborhood meeting to go over their plans. February 20th, Planning Board heard the Shops on the Parkway proposal. On March 13th, there was a public hearing held here. Now, we cannot allow public to speak during this session because we've already had the public hearing. And we are not, we can't reopen the public hearing. This is what I've been told. And so the Shops on the Parkway are coming back with revisions, minor revisions in accordance of the request of some of the public and the town council at the March meeting. And it was tabled at that time. And when a decision was tabled, it leaves it out there. It's not a yay or a nay, it's just there. And if the applicant so chooses to come back to the table with small revisions, then they make that request. Tonight, the council will have options. 1, to approve. 2, to approve with revisions. 3, to table it again. Or 4, to deny it. Okay? And I think it's very important that all of you are here and able to hear what actually happens. We've received many emails over the course of week or so. And we greatly appreciate the feedback, and thank you. That's important to council and to me. So that being said, I'm sure everybody understands. But that being said, Hillary, you've got a list for me? Okay. Okay. And you know, like I said, I want to thank all of you that did sign up for this, that we cannot allow to speak right now. Thank you very much. I mean that. Gigi Poole.
My name is Gigi Poole. I live at 147 Dogwood Lane, and I'm coming back to talk again about stewardship that I spoke about in June. Blowing Rock's taxpayers are paying at least 265% more for employee child care than they would be paying if the town were procuring employee child care at market values. These figures are from the Duke University study recently published and put on our website. According to the study, market rate for full-time child care is $800 per month or $9,600 per year. The town charges $400 per month to each of the employees. The annual operating budget of the center is $188,000 and serves 12 children, which is $1,306 per month or $15,667 per year per child. Also, the one-time retrofit of the building costs between $110,000 and $115,000. Those sunk costs are $9,375 per child. If these sunk costs are spread out, say over 5 years, that's $1,875 per child. So added together, the cost to taxpayers each year is $17,542 per child, less the $4,800 received from the employee. So $12,742 per year per child is the cost to taxpayers. That cost is 265% more than if the employee continued to pay $400 per month and the town paid the other $400 at a private sector market rate. And it would cost taxpayers less to close the facility and pay the entire $800 per month for the 12 children. So, are we building a resume here? Whose resume? Does Blowing Rock need more publicity? We have a TDA, we have a Chamber of Commerce. This study points to a lack of stewardship and a huge cost to taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Poole. All right, I believe it's Dana Petrie.
Hello, my name is Dana Petrie and I live at 261 Shady Lane here in Blowing Rock. I'm here today to ask the council for assistance or for help in the overpopulation of deer in our area. If we could maybe try to get our neighbors that do feed deer to stop feeding deer, that would be just a great help. I see about 20 to 30 deer a day going through my yard, and it is tearing up my yard. I can't tell you how bad. But my next door neighbor feeds them and has troughs almost, and so they're coming this close to town, and I know that there's overpopulation, everyone is aware of it, but if I'm here today to ask for assistance, or if you guys could potentially pass an ordinance or a law prohibiting the feeding of deer within the city limits, that would be a great help. Thank you.
Ms. Petrie. Melissa Tosh. Melissa, are you here?
I stayed out here at school. Hi, my name is Melissa Tausche. I live at 1741 Sunset Drive. I'm here to speak about development, not specifically shops on the Parkway, but I just want to talk about development, short-term rentals, and the lack of affordable housing, and the fact that the town is contemplating subsidizing workforce housing in the future. I've been doing some research into what other communities have been doing to combat the lack of affordable housing, where all of their workers are having to leave town and in some cases live an hour outside of town or more. One thing that I would like to encourage the council to do is take a look at what some of these other towns are doing. One of the things is when someone does build short-term rentals and we give them the permits for short-term rentals, then perhaps they can in turn pay back by giving something towards building affordable housing. Some communities require a certain percentage of affordable housing be built, for deed-restricted affordable housing to be built. So if you're going to build 50 short-term rental properties, then maybe they might be required to build at least 10% that would be deed-restricted affordable housing. So my plea is just let's make sure that we look at some of these other communities. We're not the only ones facing this dilemma, and we know that short-term rentals, they're different from hotels. They do drive the housing market up quite a bit, consequently forcing a lot of people to have to move out of town. So thank you for your patience. Now I'm off to Groovy Nights.
Thanks, Melissa. Mark Silvander. I was close. I had the first three. I attended Blowing Rock Elementary.
I'm not speaking about the park, but I do have lived here for 9 years, and we love Blowing Rock. And you're doing a masterful job downtown. I mean, we bring our friends and our family. It's this most stunning small communities we've ever seen or visited or lived in. And it's a huge delight. I do want to throw out just a few statistics for your thought. Just Blue Ridge Mountain Rentals has 735 listings in the region. There are probably 535, give or take, hotel rooms in this, just in Blowing Rock in the environs. There are probably a total of at least 12 to 1,500 short-term rentals of some kind. And one has to at least consider the impact on the community. What if there's a downturn in short-term rentals for some reason? What would that be, the long-term economic impact on our beautiful community? So I just would like the board, as they're contemplating whatever project that you're going to be voting on today or next month, that we have so many, we're saturated in this town as it is, this small little community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. All righty. Thank you so much. Thank you for speaking. All right, moving right along. Regular agenda, shops on the Parkway. Oh, no, special recognition. I'm sorry. Could have got the glasses on. And we have Police Chief Nathan Kirk. Did he leave?
No, he probably can't get in here. He's in there somewhere. Good evening. I'm glad my officers were able to turn out a crowd like this. This is great.
I'm happy to come before you guys today and introduce 3 of our new officers that we were able to get sworn in. We're going to have a pinning ceremony. So I'd first like to call Lieutenant Mitch Rattler in here with his wife. Yep. So just a few details about Mitch. Mitch comes to us from the App Regional Hospital Police, where he served there for 17 years. During that time, he served as a patrol officer, a patrol sergeant, a lieutenant, and then attained the rank of major before I was able to snag him away. He also has his advanced law enforcement certificate through NC Training and Standards. He graduated from Watauga High in 2004 and then graduated from Caldwell Community College with an associate's degree in emergency management. And Mitch is also a veteran of the National Guard, where he served 8 years with an 88 Mike unit transportation and received an honorable discharge at the rank of sergeant. His beautiful wife, Tracy, will be here to hold the Bible for him.
Put your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand. And now this solemnly repeat after me. I, Mitch Edward Rattler,
I, Mitch Edward Rattler,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of North Carolina,
of the State of North
and
Carolina,
the town of Blowing Rock,
and the town of Blowing Rock,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duty of the office
of police officer
of police officer
to which I have been entrusted
to which I have been entrusted
without fear or favor.
without fear or favor.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Next, I would like to ask Officer Micah Mass to come in. Officer Mass, there he is. Just a few details about Micah. He just recently graduated basic law enforcement training at Caldwell Community College. Spring of this year, he had the highest GPA in the BLET class. He graduated from Watauga High School in 2018, and Micah is still currently serving in the NC National Guard as a staff sergeant with the 1451st Transportation Company. And pinning him today will be Keena, his mom.
You put your left hand and raise your right hand. And I'll just up slowly. I, Micah Douglas Mass,
I, Micah Douglas Mass,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of North Carolina,
of the State of North Carolina,
and the town of Blowing Rock,
and the town of Blowing Rock,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
to which I have been entrusted
to which I have been entrusted
without fear or favor.
without fear or favor.
So help me God.
So help me God.
What are you up to now, Nathan? 50?
I'd like to call Senior Patrol Officer Daniel Autry in. Daniel comes to us from the Watauga County Sheriff's Office, where he served there for 7 years and left as a Deputy 2. He's originally from McDowell County, attended BLET at McDowell Tech, where he graduated with the highest GPA in his BLET class as well. Daniel is also a graduate of App State, where he majored in history. Daniel was also a veteran of the Marine Corps, where he served 5 years as a military police officer. He deployed to Afghanistan and received honorable discharge at the rank of corporal. And pinning him today is his girlfriend, Jewel.
Raise your right hand and go slow. I, Daniel Cody Autry,
I, Daniel Cody Autry,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States,
of the United States,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the state of North Carolina,
of the state of North Carolina,
and the town of Little Rock,
and the town of Little Rock,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
to which I have been entrusted
to which I have been entrusted
without fear or favor.
without fear or favor, so help me God.
And with that, I'm happy to announce that 36% of our staff now is either currently serving or veterans of the military. So.
All right, we're going to move on in just a minute. Part of running a town's like running a business. You have to spend money to make money. You have to provide benefits to your employees. The child care that's been brought up a few times has enabled us to be fully staffed. We're the only community in the high country fully staffed. 5 of our police officers have children over there. If we didn't have the daycare, they'd be in Hickory, Lenore, Boone, wherever. So keep in mind, those that have run businesses, you have to spend money to make money, and we have to look after our citizens because you're our customers. And the way we do that is with good personnel. Having good personnel puts you at the top. So keep in mind, we are fully staffed because of our department heads and because of benefits, and one of those being childcare. Thank you. Okay, now we're at Shops on the Parkway. Kevin Rothrock still here?
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council, General Public. Thank you for being here. I'll give a brief timeline. I know the mayor gave one earlier about the Shops on the Parkway. So we received an application for this project in December 24. Held a neighborhood meeting February 13th here in council chambers. A week later, planning board had a meeting for planning board to consider the application. The project was recommended for approval. Moved on to the public hearing at the town council on March 13th of this year. The project at that time was tabled. And then in late March, town staff requested some revisions from the applicant. And based on some feedback from council coming out of the public hearing, and we sent that to the applicant, and they responded July 25th with revised plans. And then here we are tonight to look over those revised plans and to consider the application for phase 1 of this project. So Shops on the Parkway is requesting this conditional rezoning. This is the subject property aerial view. At 278 Shops on the Parkway Road, from general business to conditional zoning general business, the applicant is requesting to redevelop the property from a single-level retail center to a mixed-use development with retail, restaurants, and residential units. At this time, they're only seeking phase 1. And the original proposal was a 34-unit building. It was a 3 to 4-story building on the south end of the property. And the applicant also shared a master plan for their future long-term expectations, but anything beyond phase 1 would have to come back to planning board and council. The public hearing was held March 11th. After reviewing the conditional rezoning application and project plans, hearing from the applicant, taking public comment, council closed the public hearing and tabled the decision, requesting more information and some modifications to the phase 1 condominium building. In response to the request by council, the applicant divided the condominium building into 3 buildings, reduced the number of units from 34 to 27, and modified the architectural elevations and building materials. This is the site plan that shows the part of the building, the old polo outlet, and that end of the building would be removed to make room for the proposal. This is the plan where the buildings would connect. It was one long building, if anyone had recalled from that March meeting. This is 3 buildings proposed on that end. And then this shows the conceptual plan of the future master plan for the build out of the rest of the project. Zoomed in plan just showing this phase 1 and parking retrofit so that the access around behind the building would still continue and you could access through the site. The close-up view of the plans, detailed with the parking, some of the utilities shown. Of course, the Middle Fork New River is in behind it. Sidewalk connection here. We also asked, one of the conditions was that they provide a sidewalk connection out to 321 and the future Middle Fork Greenway. And so that's part of this phase. Landscape plan, providing some separation from the current shopping center and this part of the residential component of phase 1. And then renderings for, I have these out of order. Let me see. Yeah, renderings of the buildings, of the 3 buildings proposed. This shows the different view, each A, B, C, D, and F, different views from different locations on the property. Let me go back to a little more detail. Instead of, as I mentioned, instead of the single one building that was about 400 feet long, they broke it into 3 buildings that are closer to 160 feet, or maybe a little bit less. Is that right?
96.
Right. Not 96? Yeah. So 3 buildings and 96 feet in length. The highest point of the roof on this rendering here. So buildings 1 and 3 are similar in design, and 2 has a little bit different look. Buildings 1 and 3 went to 47 feet. They had originally at 53 for the main building. And then building 2 here goes from 53 to 51 and a half. So a little bit of reduction in the building. Also, some of the materials are different. There was some stucco quite a bit on the original building, and they've changed that to some vertical board and batten siding, some bark siding, some rock, and they had a version that had a lot of metal roofing. I think, in fact, maybe all of it was, and then they backed that off and changed it to a mixture of architectural shapes and, or not shapes, architectural roofing shingles and then some metal roofing as accents. The parking that's currently there will be adjusted to accommodate the retail buildings, and it will be separated by the landscaping, as I pointed out. The request of the applicant is that the 2 and 3 bedroom units would just be required to have 2 parking spaces. Our code requires 2.5 if it's a 3 bedroom. So the request from the applicant is to reduce that number. They would still provide the 1 space for every 4 units. So the current plans that's proposed, 21 2-bedroom units and 6 3-bedroom units. So based on what they're proposing, they meet that requirement of 61 spaces. If it was just by code, it would be 64. So that's just the difference in what the applicant is proposing for the parking for this project. Stormwater, there's currently stormwater detention on the site. And with where it's located, where the buildings are going, that's got to be modified a little bit. And it'll be in some bioswales and some drainage structures that will treat that stormwater. And they're required to make sure that there's no additional runoff from the site than there is currently. In fact, I think the overall master plan reduces the impervious area by a percentage. I'm not sure, but Mike could answer that, Mike True, the project engineer. Prior to the March public hearing, staff went to look at the site and look at some current site deficiencies, and really we only noted a few areas where there's some dumpster screening that needs to be added in behind the current buildings, and just one or two places where a tree may have died and it needs to be replaced or has been removed, maybe one or two places. So we conveyed that to the applicant that there's going to be some areas to upgrade as part of this project, the dumpster screening and some landscaping to bring the entire project into compliance. Another thing that was, so the applicant has two conditions that they propose, and just to refresh you, the parking, as I mentioned, one space for any one bedroom units, which is what code requires, two for two bedroom, and then also two for any three or more bedroom units. The other condition that's proposed is that the maximum building height of any condo building in phase one be no more than 52 feet. Originally it was 53, with a reduction in this revised plan that it not be more than 52 feet measured from the finished grade at the entrance. One of the staff proposed conditions was that within 2 years of certificate of occupancy on phase one, that if the applicant decides not to proceed with future plans, they just walk away, but they construct phase one, that they would be required by this ordinance to upfit the remaining parts of the shopping center to reflect the architectural elements that are a part of phase one. So instead of it being totally separate, the requirement is that there'll be upfits and painting and materials added to the current shopping center if they decide not to move forward with the future master plan. The other staff proposed condition was that a sidewalk be connected to the access road, and that's been reflected in the revised plans. Planning board had a proposed condition that any future phases need to address the parking demand of the entire built-out development, including phase one. And so that, going forward, that would be part of the draft. That would be part of the ordinance and the conditions that go along with it, if the council accepts that condition and also the applicant. So in your packet, there was a revised ordinance 25-04. Exhibit A, which is really the map that indicates the entire parcel will be rezoned to conditional zoning. That's all 17 acres. Exhibit B, which had the conditions, that's been revised. They revised a project narrative from the applicant. Revised phase one site grading, utility, drainage, and landscape plans, and revised long-term master plan. Also revised architectural renderings and elevations, and revised architectural renderings of the future master plan. At this time, I think you may want to ask questions of staff or myself, and then allow the applicant to respond to what you've had them work on the past couple of months. So if you have any questions of me, I'd be glad to answer that unless you're okay with it.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
any elevators?
Yeah.
Every building has an elevator. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you clarify, there were 64 spaces required by our code and 61 provided?
There's 61 provided, yes, 64 required by code, 61 provided, but their
Per their
condition,
formula.
their formula is 61, so they meet what they're proposing.
B,
The question I get asked by people is, what's the big picture? I understand you can't talk about some things, but to give some thought about making local residents comfortable with what the entire project looks like.
You good with me?
If you want to take it, go ahead.
No, I'll let them. Whoever you want to speak to.
I guess, could we possibly finish questions from the council regarding the redesign and to see if we've met or addressed all the comments that we did receive, the recommendations and comments from the council, and give us a moment to think about that? I don't really want to open Pandora's box, but I understand. So just for the purpose of a conditional district rezoning is to provide an entirely new concept of a district. It's one that doesn't exist, and then you're doing site-specific requirements. And the board, what's being asked of the council tonight is that it approve one phase and that literally nothing else gets built unless it comes back in front of you with the proposal, just like this one, proposing materials, height, density, parking, all of that. What we're asking for approval tonight is that can we take a commercial shopping center and turn it into a mixed-use development? That's the conditional rezoning that we'd be asking for. And so to the extent that you're asking if folks can speak to it, I guess I'd like to just have a moment with my folks to talk about what the scope of that would be, or what our comfort with the scope of that would be. I do want folks to be comfortable with it. I do feel like there's been a huge amount of effort put into trying to make folks comfortable with it based on what the comments already were. And we really aren't in a position, nor are we very willing to hear every comment about every material we're using. That's your role. That's Mr. Rothrock's role. With all due respect, you guys would be here forever if that's what the scope of the hearings was about. So I guess I want to limit
Ms.
it.
Garrett.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an existing project. It's a viable project. It's been operational. Okay.
Right.
My question to the gentleman, which these are all very professional people, they know what they're doing. My question was, why don't they come to us with a master plan? That was my question in March. That's not that hard.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a
I
suggestion?
can
Yes,
speak to
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a presentation?
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting is let us finish the presentation. What Mr. Rothrock did wasn't the presentation so much, it was the summary that he usually gives. If we could give the presentation, see if it answers some questions, and I have a response to that question as well during the process of that. Okay, thank you.
I think that would be a better order, if we could have the presentation and let's hold our
Well,
questions.
they went into questions, and then she wanted to make sure that all the questions had been levied that the council had set forth, and mine had not.
Right, and so we'll present and see if we can answer that one, Mayor, and then we'll let you follow up if necessary. So just wanted to mention that with me tonight are the partners for the Shops on the Parkway, which is the applicant, two of the partners, Jay Harrell and Chris Barefoot, Mike True from Municipal Engineering, Bill Dixon, and Kelly Coffey, from Appalachian Architecture. And I think we have agreed that we would have Bill come up first, or Kelly, and speak to some of the redesign. Okay.
Thank you, council, for your time tonight. Appalachian Architecture's done probably a half dozen projects in downtown Blowing Rock over the past 25 years. And I appreciate the community's involvement and the vigor in which they are involved. So we took a lot of your comments to heart. There were 3 takeaways from our March 11th meeting from the town council. One was that get rid of the 400-foot long building and reduce it to 3 buildings, which we have done. None of the 3 buildings exceed 96, 97 feet in length. And as Kevin talked about, the heights are only at the gables, the tops, and only exceed what's allowed by 2 feet. The second takeaway was to get rid of the exterior hallways because the buildings look like a hotel. And we've pretty much done that by changing the entries and getting rid of the long balconies you saw in the previous plans. We've reduced the density from 34 units to 27 units. And then really the final takeaway was no stucco. And the materials we propose meet the current standards of the UDO. That's really the extent of my presentation. Any questions? Mike Trier is here for civil engineering if he has anything.
I will, if you want to. Yeah, let's, I was gonna have you change this. I was gonna have it be the overview plan so we can just introduce them to the concept. So, yeah.
So as you can see from the arrows, that start with A, that's, there was some concern about what it would look like from this intersection and coming in as you saw the end of this building to reduce that, Kevin. To get the renderings in. Rendering A is what you would see as you enter the shops on the Parkway. B is pretty much a head-on view of this first building. And C is from the grass area, being able to see primarily C, B, and A buildings. D being the perspective from the creek, so to speak, because there's pretty dense vegetation along the highway that you will not, there are not many openings to see any of these buildings. D is the rendering looking down the front of the buildings with the creek here on the right. E is more towards this, looking at buildings C and B, and then F is the final one looking at the front, so to speak, of all 3 buildings, or the street view of all 3 buildings. Can you jump into the master plan?
Yeah.
Let's go to R2. In response to the council's request to see more of the master plan, we generated this design that shows you all the plan to have a variety of 1-story, 2-story, and 3-story buildings during a possible future build out. The purpose of this really is to show you the materials will be sympathetic, the design, the styles, everything about those will be sympathetic. Those would all be mixed-use buildings with some type of commercial on the ground floor and residential above. In the case of a street, we start out with a 1-story building on the corner, hopefully a restaurant, moving up to 2 stories and then 3 stories as you get to the back of the site. Again, this is done at your request. It's all conceptual. We will be back when and if the next phase is developed.
So just to add to that, and you, Chris and Jay can hop up. The idea was to create a sort of a village where folks can come. There's green space in the center. There may be an opportunity to do music or special events, but there's green space in the center where folks, residents, guests to the area, and tourists can come shop. Some can come live and or stay there for there to be a mix, not dissimilar to what there is now of commercial, retail, and restaurant space. They're exploring whether it makes sense to have services and what that actually means, whether there would be a desire by professional tenants or even other service providers to have space there. And they've, from the last time, mixed up the design, as you can see, based on the height and the mix of 1, 2, and 3-story buildings to create more of a village, not a big compound, something that folks that isn't overpowering, what's around it. There are still going to be trees, as you can see, lining all sides of it. There's up on the hill, adjacent to Chitola. And so I think the scale of it, both from a density perspective, but also just from a scale of the design, the buildings, is very much in keeping with what with what I believe is the town plan. I also just want to point out in terms of whether it is sort of in harmony. This is not an extension of Main Street. It is an extension of Blowing Rock. We understand that. It is an extension of our community. It's part of our community. It's part of the commercial sector, but it is not Main Street. On Main Street, there's almost entirely mixed use. It is commercial on the bottom and residential on top. We are proposing commercial on the bottom and residential on top for all other units or buildings other than this new one. Part of the reason to develop this first phase before anything else is, number one, there are tenants. There's an operating shopping center. We would like to develop the left side, which has the least amount of impact on all of that existing business, first. It also, the plan was to have some units that are residential units that are incorporated into the commercial sort of life, have them upstairs in these other later phases, but for the first phase to have sort of a residential section, which is what they're proposing be done now. To answer your question, Mayor, the reason they're not doing an entire plan is twofold. And I guess maybe I would like to answer that question by asking what the issue is with not showing an entire plan, and here's why. There is zero risk to the town, community, town council, staff, to us, to approving it in this manner and in this order. And I tell you that because nothing can be built, nothing can be done without a zoning permit and a building permit, which is not before you and is not being approved. So what you have is you have a shopping center right now that has been there for a long time. We all agree needs some updating, if not redevelopment, which is what we're proposing. But make no mistake, there's plenty of room on this site. Someone could come in and buy it and subdivide and be here in front of you with a proposal that has nothing to do with the long-term plan. And they say, hey, I'm buying this tract. We've got the setbacks met. We've got the height limitations met. We've got the density limitations met. We could do it under a special use or conditional use permit. We'd be in front of you asking for that approval completely without regard to whatever somebody does in the future. So there is, either you like the buildings you see in the redesign, you like the materials, you like the height, you like the residential, the new look, or you don't. If you're worried about what we're going to build, that's sort of like saying, I don't want to approve this house because the 10th house you build in the subdivision, that might be ugly. It's completely irrelevant tonight because you don't have to approve it if you don't like it. If we come in here with the 2 phases, or let's say the rest of the development planned out completely, but maybe we want to construct it in 2 phases, which is probably the plan, is to come back and get the entire rest of it done at once. Then you consider it then. But I don't mean this disrespectfully. I'm asking, I don't understand the hesitance in considering 3 buildings. I mean, we could subdivide it and come back to you with 3 buildings. So what's the difference?
May I?
Yes.
Okay. There has been interest in leasing retail space.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
as a point of order, the presiding officer can't participate in debate. So if you want to participate in debate, you need to relinquish the chair.
I can ask questions.
You cannot participate in debate.
I'm not debating, I'm asking a question, Mr. Mayor.
You're having discussions. So if you would like to entertain you preside either over the meeting or you can participate in debate, but not both.
My understanding was I could answer questions. Joy, is that correct? Is he correct?
I mean, according to section 2.8C of the town code, the presiding officer, if that was you or someone else presiding, cannot actively participate in the debate.
Okay, all right.
But I would be happy for Mr. Mayor to text or email his questions to somebody who can participate, and we can answer them just the same.
They know I'm sure they know the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Guarini, do you have a?
Chelsea, I'm sure you're aware that this is an election year in Blowing Rock.
Yes.
So it's really nice to hear all these explanations and everything, but it's going to ramp up when the public really wants to know what's going on. You have 3 of us here that are running for re-election, so plus 2 others. And so everybody's going to want to know just exactly what's going on. And so.
Right, and I guess did what I said say in response to what the mayor said make sense, that when you say everybody wants to know what's going on, I think there is a fundamental misunderstanding about what is in front of you and what can be done. And that fundamental misunderstanding is if we came in and said we are keeping the shops on the Parkway like it is. I know the only thing that they are talking about removing now is the end, that's the Polo, or the old Polo outlet. But let's say they just came in and said we're keeping it the same. If we could, based on the acreage that's there, and again, I haven't analyzed this because it's not what we're doing, but if we could come in, if an owner could come in, purchase the property, subdivide off a part, and we came in and we said, we would like to build these three condo units. They meet the height restrictions, they meet the design requirements and the look. We have enough parking. Let's say we meet every element of the town code. And someone came in and said, but what about shops on the Parkway? You would say, what about shops on the Parkway? They're not doing anything to it. That is basically what we're doing. We haven't subdivided it. All we're doing is putting 3 residential buildings, and everything stays like it is, other than the end of that one side, which is the Polo outlet. And we have to come back before you and say, we would like to do more. We would like to do more buildings. Do you like what we've done so far? The rest of the buildings will be mixed use. Now, Mayor, I don't know if the concern was, when you started talking about tenants and commercial and that kind of thing, if the concern was, well, what guarantee do we have that they'll be commercial? I don't know if that's where you're headed. You do have a guarantee because you're.
I'll defer to David on that one.
But if that is a concern, I guess what I'm getting at is the concern, what are these going to look like? Or is the concern, what if they trick us and they build all residential units and no commercial? And I'm telling you, that is not a concern. We cannot do that. We don't want to do it. It's not what we're proposing. We can't do it. We are building 3 residential buildings. That is it. That is all. Nothing else is before you. So if people, with all due respect, vote on anyone that's up for re-election based on you don't know what's going to happen in the shops on the Parkway, that is a grave misunderstanding of reality and facts. Like, I don't know how else to make that plain. And I know I'm getting a little testy, but I couldn't make it more clear. And if anyone would like to ask the town attorney if that is a correct interpretation of the procedure that we're under in terms of what gets approved tonight and what still will be subject to approval later, we can have that discussion. Nothing about what is currently at that site other than the Polo outlet and what's left of that and the entrance and the parking that you're seeing in this plan is going to change until we come back in front of you with another proposal that you consider. We're not allowed to touch it. So does that help? So if people want to know what's going to happen, they get to come back regardless of who's on this council, when we come back and say, we don't like building 4, we don't like building 7, we think they're too tall, we don't like the makeup, we don't like the restaurant they're putting there, even though that's completely irrelevant, we don't like anything, all of that, everything is up for discussion after these 3 buildings. That's it. I promise it's that simple. So that's why I would say, if they say, we don't like that you voted for the 3 buildings. Well, I hope they don't like it because you don't like the 3 buildings. Because if they don't like it because of all these things they think is going to happen to the shops on the Parkway, they've just made it up in their heads. Sorry, but it is that simple. So I just want to focus on what's in front of you because we can't do that. We don't want to do that and we can't do that. And you aren't approving anything beyond what you've seen tonight. if you'll approve it, or if you want to table it, hopefully not, or if you want to make other conditions. We are fine with all of that. We just want to have a conversation. We gave a more overall idea of the plan because there was a desire to see what we were envisioning. It has to be compliant, but it also has to be harmonious. So we would obviously use the same materials and that kind of thing. I think the big sticking points were the buildings were too big, they were too tall, it was too dense, and they didn't like the outside entrances, the stucco. So we've taken all of that away. We broke them all up, at least the ones you're approving tonight. We broke them all up. And we, anything else, we wanted to give you an idea that we've brought all the buildings down. So all the buildings would be compliant with the existing height limitations of the ordinance, but they won't all be the same height. Some will be 1, 2, 3 stories. So all of that is addressed. So I promise that, and I'm not going to promise, don't take my word for it. If anybody that has authority over what the town ordinance says would like to disagree with my statement about what is or is not allowed to be approved tonight and what can or can't be done to the site without approval, please speak to that. Because I know that often is the case, and then I'll shut up, but there's a lot of conversation that happens in town and a lot of either misunderstandings and misrepresentations just abound. So on the record, I'm being very clear.
Ms. Garrett, is there more to the presentation?
There's not more to the presentation, except, to the extent that you would like to talk about the vision. I did want to point out that there were some other responses provided from the applicant regarding, let's see if there's anything that hasn't been hit by Mr. Dixon. I think that Mr. Dixon hit everything, but if there's anything that you guys asked about or that the town raised to you in an email or comments that you want addressed, let us know and we'll address it. Yes.
Is there any plans, one of the things that I've seen that was asked for a connector road behind there into Chateau?
Has there been anyone that's asked about one?
Are there any plans for it?
Oh, I would have to defer. I'm not aware of that right now. I'm not aware of any. No.
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 Would we like? I mean, if Warren wanted to let us connect, sure.
I wouldn't say no, because it maybe never happened, it hasn't been discussed. If there was a harmonious, solution there between the two of us and it worked for both, then potentially, but hasn't been any discussion.
It's not part of the proposal tonight, so. And I don't really know would have to, I have no idea on Mr. Shepherd's side, what would have to happen for that to be allowable on his end. Sorry, Lauren Catherine, sorry. I don't know where I came up with that.
I like the rest of the council received a lot of questions about the future plan. So I appreciate you making that distinction about what we're looking at tonight and what may or may not come before the council in the future. And you're absolutely right. Anything that might come in a subsequent phase, the council would have absolute authority to regulate that.
And the planning board first and then the council. We'd have to go back for the planning board.
If it's okay with you guys, I would, and I think this would be very beneficial to the room, ask our zoning administrator, Mr. Rothrock, to kind of elaborate on the difference between conditional rezoning, which we're here tonight for, versus a special use permit, and the rights that an applicant has under a special use permit versus conditional rezoning.
Okay. I'll
Would
give
you
it a
mind
shot.
doing that?
Be glad to. So currently, the property is governed by a special use permit, approved back in the late 80s, and constructed, completed, and that's what we've had for many years. And then in the late 90s, the front parcel was changed to amend that special use permit. At the time, it was conditional use permit, but they're all called special use now. To add at the time, it was Liz Claiborne Outlet, I think it was, and then the Dollar Mart, or then that's what it was called, Speedway now. So that was part of an amendment to that special use permit, conditional use permit. So that's what the use of the property is regulated and authorized by. To do this project, they could amend that special use permit. That's one way. And if they meet the standards and they present that to planning board and council, again, different process, as everyone knows. It's a sworn testimony and no ex parte communication, very restrictive in process for council and planning board and the public. Really, it's only those that are allowed to speak in a situation like that are those that have standing. This process is more open to the public. It's legislative as a conditional zoning request. And the whole property is being considered, all 17 acres. And the applicant is asking to rezone the entire property with its own zoning district, with its own ordinance and special conditions, and only doing phase one at this time, which is the 3 buildings, residential buildings. To give you some idea of their future master concept and plans, they gave you plans at the March meeting and responded back with some more detail on how those future plans may play out. So, but that's information for you to give you some idea of where their plans are, but you're not approving that. You're only approving phase one. I think that's been said. So the next time, if they build these 3 and it's successful, they feel like they want to move forward with the rest of the project, they will have to come back to planning board and council with plans that will show what they're going to do. And then, even then, they can decide to build it in phases. But I think in discussions with the applicant, their plan is they would like to bring that whole project back for one more review instead of piecemealing it through a review process. Does that answer? Is that helpful?
Helpful to me, yes.
Okay. Helpful for me too.
I did have a couple of questions. Would anybody else like to go? Okay. Has the size of the phase one, it was roughly about 2.2 acres in March. Is that come down? Maybe Mike, Mr. True knows.
Do you know the acreage of phase one?
I don't know the acreage, but it's very similar. It's actually grown. Basically, what we did is we split the buildings up and created more green space. And the parking layout and the footprint of the phase one is relatively the same as it was when we previously submitted it.
I think it's more than that, though, Mike, I mean, the parcel is here, and, I mean, that parcel would be part of that. I think it's more than that.
Are you asking to nail down density units per acre? Okay.
Like the disturbed area.
Well, the disturbed area, maybe be a little bit more, because with building 3, to separate them, we had to slide building 3 down. So maybe a little more disturbed area, but the basic area is really, we just took that footprint of the one building and split it into thirds and put more green area.
So it's approximately the same amount of disturbance or project size. And my other question was, and maybe this is Ms. Coffey and Mr. Dixon, is I know that there was a variance requested on the height by 2 feet. Is that on all 3 buildings or? Okay.
It's just
No,
one.
it's just
Just one building?
The one in the middle, number 2. It's based on I think the eaves are at 33, but in order to try to break them up and have them not look all the same and have more of a pitched residential mix-up, they increased the height of the sort of the dormer, right? It's sort of like a dormer.
On
Goes a little
building
higher.
2,
On
building
just
1
building
and,
2.
building 1 and 3 is under 50, it's
Under 50,
47 feet,
yeah.
so it's a little smaller.
Yeah.
Probably about 6 feet from the original.
So it's still 3 floors. Those are faux. Are those upstairs windows or are they?
They are.
They are, okay. So, but they're not, it's just the roof line that causes it to be, just to make it look better.
So only one building to answer your question.
Yeah.
Exceeds the height.
Thank you.
Council? Any other questions? Doug?
I guess this is would they be willing to go back to the 64 parking spaces that's required instead of the 61?
I guess it'd be a matter of just looking where they could go. I think based on the parking ratio, and I know I'm probably saying something you already know, Mr. Matheson, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but they're proposing 1 space for each bedroom, 1 bedroom, 2 for each 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, 2, sorry.
It's 2 spaces, what's being proposed is 2 parking spaces for every 2 or 3 plus bedrooms. What they're proposing in the building is 21 2-bedroom, 6 3-bedroom.
Okay.
Which by code requires 64, what they've asked for in their condition is just require 2 spaces for everything. So it's a difference of 3 spaces based on the number of uses.
So it's at 4 spaces? 3? Okay.
We can make it work.
They can make it work.
Also, they are keeping the 1 for every 4 units. That's they
Additional.
that as for visitor spaces. They're keeping that formula and providing extra for.
But I don't think there are any 4 units, 4 bedroom.
No, it's 1 for every spot for every employee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's like 7
Yeah.
spaces required for visitors.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I think we feel pretty confident that unless every person that's staying there brings a car, that we won't have a parking issue. If they're all parked at the same time, worst case, we'd be 3 short, but if they can find an own space to do it, I think they're willing to do it, to add the 3.
Have you all done calculations, revenue projections on what the town could expect in the first phase, and then if it moved on, an overall revenue projection that the town would receive?
We can work on it.
I'm sorry?
Can't.
Yes, sir, but we could work on it.
I'm sure they've done crunch numbers, but I don't know that they're at a point where they were ready to throw out, that would be, I don't think they want to get hopes up or down at this point, but they can run a number and give it to you. Yeah. In terms of revenue.
I'd like to ask what your thought was, why you decided to do condos instead of just resurface what was there.
Resurface.
Or
You mean what? You mean you redo the buildings that were there?
Yes.
And I'll definitely let Chris and Jay speak to that. I think the vision was, again, to have sort of part residential, some of it's mixed and some of it is separate. But of course, there's a very obvious existing operating shopping center with lots of tenants. And I don't think the desire was to come in and just, you'd have to move everybody out at one time to do that. That's not really good for them. That's not good for tenants. And they just wanted to proceed a little bit more sort of cautiously and build something that wasn't going to affect a whole lot what was there, and then keep going if it's going well, which they fully anticipate it will based on the market. So I think that was the thought. I think that building, it's not a matter of just renovating it. I mean, you can't just take off the roof and add floors to it, right? So it would be a tear down. If you're going to turn it into a mixed use, I'm saying, if you're going to go up anywhere, it would be a tear down. So I just don't think they want to proceed with a giant wipe away of what's there.
But eventually it will be a tear down.
Right, but their hope is to try to build some of these buildings as they go. I mean, that's another reason they'd like some time, is to figure out tenants and all the things that go into that for future phases. And I think they just they don't really have a desire to shoot themselves in the foot or evict a bunch of tenants, not evict, but, have them leave because they're redeveloping. I don't think that's really good for anybody. If they can avoid it, a big sweeping change like that. They may have to do incremental things where they're taking a portion down, because there's 2 wings, right, left. So they would like to approach more incrementally than that, so.
I have a question for two questions for Mr. Rothrock. What is the vesting period on this phase 1?
Automatically, it's 2 years by general statute. They could request up to 5 with a site-specific development plan, but 2 years. Now, that vesting changes as they continue to work on the project. They don't have to necessarily put a shovel in the ground in 2 years, or otherwise it's lost. Once you obtain a building permit, that gives you another 6 months, and then if you start in that, then it's perpetual, really.
So the application is for 2 years?
Automatic, yes, sir.
And can you elaborate on the sunset date for phase 2 and the updating of the center of a subsequent phase?
Yeah.
Maybe more than 2, I don't know.
Yes, sir, that was, so the condition from staff that was added, if within 2 years after the issuance of the final CO for phase 1, the applicant decides not to proceed with the future phase of the development, then the exterior modification shall be completed on the remaining shopping center buildings. The modification shall include painting, roofing, bark and wood siding treatments, rock treatments, timber beams, similar finishes that cause the shopping center buildings to blend and match phase 1. If the modification work is required for failure to move forward with future plans, the work shall be completed within 36 months of the final CO for phase 1.
I must have missed that, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And our understanding of that is basically if we don't do anything else after that CO, we've got to go fix up what's there. We definitely don't want to go fix up what's there just because we're 6 months. We've got plans underway for phase 2, but we would have to be sitting on our hands for 2 years with not doing anything in order to trigger that. Yeah.
And it also includes, as part of this project, the building on the front, not the gas station, it's a separate parcel.
Right.
It also includes the docks rocks.
Could you refresh my mind one more time of why we didn't put in elevators?
Speak up, Doug, couldn't hear you.
Could you refresh my mind one more time of why we didn't put in elevators?
There's elevators in all 3 buildings.
They are?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed them.
Council? Additional questions? Anyone like to make a motion? You can make a motion to approve as is. You can make a motion to approve with changes. You can make a motion to table it for a possible future date. with request of changes, or you can make a motion to deny it. So there are your choices.
Well, I'll make a motion for discussion to accept the proposal as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
And that's with the addition of staff recommendations and planning board recommendations.
Yeah, I think that captured, I think everything's in there, so
Okay.
that's why I said as presented.
Okay.
That will include them adding the 3 parking spots, correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry. With the addition, with a total of 64 parking spots.
Okay.
From 61 to 64.
Did you get that, Hillary? Okay. Okay.
Good catch.
Okay, we have a first, we have a second. Any additional discussion?
Well, I'm encouraged. We presented, when we tabled it, we gave them a very long list of things that we wanted to see. And we did that. And we came up and we were very thoughtful about that list for phase 1. And they met all of those. Can you think of any they didn't meet? Maybe. And so I've been encouraged by their willingness to work with us. I, like everyone, am concerned about the number of short-term rentals, and hotel rooms, and what we have seen in our town the last few years. And these problems are complicated and they require a lot of thought. I think the way the Shops on the Parkway is descending, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word. Not deteriorating, but it's not what it used to be. I think that improvement on that lot needs to be made because it is highly visible when you first come into town. I've lived in a city where we had mixed use, and I saw it really thrive. And it's not that it was in a big city, it's just it became a place for people to enjoy the retail and the restaurants and the green space. And that was one thing I was very, very adamant about. We needed more green space. We needed less density. And that's what I see. I think that this can be, if it's done right, it can be a center of gravity that's not downtown and maybe relieve some pressure that we feel now about not having enough restaurants. Maybe having different types of shops that I hear residents say all the time, I wish we had something like a Trader Joe's, or I wish we had a better Italian restaurant and these kinds of things. So change is difficult and it's hard and sometimes painful. But I have been encouraged by what you guys have done to meet what we asked you to do.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a first, we have a second, with one condition, and that was increased parking to 64. Is that correct? Okay.
And before we take a vote, we just want to make sure that the applicant is on board with that condition as well.
Yeah.
They are? Okay. And so, yeah, how do you vote?
Yes.
David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. Pete?
No.
Okay. We'll take a 10-minute recess. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 10-minute recess. Okay, we are back in session. Next item on the regular agenda is food truck discussion. This is strictly a discussion. No vote will be taken on this. So, who wants to handle this? Kevin?
Kevin's coming up. I'm trying to get to the agenda. Good? We're good? Okay. Okay, included in your packet was just an overview of food trucks and how our ordinance treats them, and just open discussion on, do you want to move forward with setting a public hearing and having the planning board study this? And so I'm going to go through this staff report real briefly. Food truck operators are considered itinerant merchants in our land use code, and the town code addresses them a little bit differently, kind of like peddlers. So definition in our land use ordinance, itinerant merchant is a person other than a merchant with an established retail store in the town who transports an inventory of goods to a building, vacant lot, or other location in the town, and who at that location displays the goods for sale and sells the goods at retail and offers the good for sale at retail. Kind of a generic definition, but food trucks would be lumped into that type of definition. And in the land use code, itinerant merchants are not permitted anywhere. Used to be allowed in general business. We would allow people that want to sell fruit and vegetables on a vacant lot. Back in '02, I think it was the last time that we allowed that. And then Ma's Produce came along and located down at where the daycare is now. And so that changed that, and then so the ordinance was modified to eliminate itinerant merchants even from general business. Chapter 8 of the town code does not allow itinerant merchants in central business unless it's part of a charity event or a charity organization through a special event, like it's kind of like the school or a nonprofit or the Boy Scouts when they sell hot dogs at Art in the Park. If food trucks are going to be permitted, there ought to be different types of approvals for each situation. For example, we've allowed it as for Art in the Park or the Trout Derby, so they could be approved through a special permit by council. We have weddings and private events all over town, and we don't regulate that because it's strictly for the participants or the attendees of that event. So we need to have some categories on how we would approve those if you want to move forward. If you want to consider a draft ordinance, we would need to send that to planning board. We tentatively have that on the August agenda for planning board, and we could pick that up if you'd like us to. Attached in your packet is an email from Eric Brinker with Speckled Trout, some of his thoughts on the subject. The City of Sanford, a guide for food trucks, had a zoning official from Sanford send me that earlier last week. Town of Butner has some regulations, Butner, North Carolina, and then Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, had somebody send me something from what they do down there. So Joey also sent something from Banner Elk. They have an ordinance that addresses that. It could be helpful for us to discuss. So be glad to answer questions or entertain any ideas you might have or any motion to move forward if you choose.
Well, I guess I was the one that got this dog started at retreats. And it was brought to me by, I've just heard a lot of people who, there's a void right now with the shortage of restaurants that we have, that the lines are so long and the wait time is so long in a lot of our restaurants that especially families with kids, they don't want to stand around with 2 or 3 children for an hour and a half to get in, and then you've got an hour while you're in there to get the food. So you're tying a kid down for about 2.5 hours, and anybody that can do that successfully is pretty good, you know, it's a hard job. But anyway, that's what got this started, and, you know, we talked about it as during the peak months, you know, it was some ideas that was thrown out, limiting to how many that we allow, you know, and maybe only doing certain days of the week. You know, there's a lot of that's just discussion, but that's just some of the ideas that was thrown out to me through this, about this, so.
To amplify what Doug said, with the wait times the way they are, people are gonna say hour and a half is too long. They're gonna leave town and they're gonna go to West Jefferson, they're gonna go to Banner Oak, they're gonna go to Fosco, they're gonna go someplace. And that's probably, we don't want that to happen. So I think we need to figure out what's best while we have this deficit of restaurants.
I don't understand I have not seen any proof that there's a deficit of restaurants. I've talked to restaurateurs for the last 2 weeks. Not one of them has told me they have had a wait time over an hour in years. They have told me that this is not a lack of restaurants, but if there are any challenges, is that they cannot keep servers and keep tables open. And then that falls into a discussion about workforce housing and other things. And I guess my question is, what is wrong with the current policy that we have? I mean, I understand that we're trying to supplement food choices, but I think that it creates this unfair competition for restaurants and restaurant owners that have invested in this community. They pay taxes, their sales tax comes back here. The revenue that is collected by a food truck goes someplace else, doesn't get reinvested into this community. And I don't think it's our brand. I don't think a street fair is our brand. And what our vision, our long-term vision is for Flowing Rock. If we hear anything, it's about we want to keep the town quaint and charming. I don't know what's quaint and charming about a food truck. In the context of the architectural fabric and the brand that is Blowing Rock. So, I appreciate your comments, Pete, but I really have not seen evidence. We've got, by my count, 17 establishments in downtown. I'm not talking about on the highway. 17 establishments. Now, some of those are coffee shops, an ice cream shop, a sandwich place. But I live near downtown. I eat out downtown. I walk right in to restaurants, into Town Tavern, into Story Street, and I sit down.
Is that on a weekend?
It's on the weekend. Not, I've had to wait. Yes, I've had to wait. But most of the time, I don't have to wait. So I'm really confused about why we're talking about this and why I would love to know what's wrong with our current policy.
Personally, I still think that we're not filling that void for some families. We're not rounded. People that, like I said, that's coming here with families just like I said before, don't have the kind of time that it takes. And I will question you because I have been told when we've tried to go out to eat and of how long the wait list was, and it has been over an hour on the weekend to get in. But that doesn't bother Barbara and I, because it's the two of us, and we can easily go somewhere else. Because my wife won't wait that long. She won't wait that long for me, you know. But that's where, you know, it was something that was brought to me, and I said I would bring it to here, and I brought it to the retreat, and I feel like I'm fulfilling what's been asked of me.
And I appreciate that.
So what do you all want to do moving forward? Anything? Or you want planning to come up with some ideas to bring to council?
If we send it to planning, what do we expect from them? I mean,
I think
what would they do? What would y'all do?
I don't know if it can be addressed in one meeting, but there would be some study of it and look at other ordinances and see what might fit here if we decide to move forward. They may say, we agree with David that we don't see a need to change anything. But I would present it to planning board as what I've presented here tonight, that this is how it's treated in our current ordinance. This is the different scenarios that would apply to food trucks. And then would they provide a recommendation to move forward with a draft ordinance or not provide a draft ordinance? The recommendation will come from them.
I feel like we need some data since there, you know, some of us that feel that there is a long, long wait. There are long waits at certain restaurants on weekends. And then there's some that are saying, well, we talked to the, you know, so what David's saying, so there's discrepancy. And I think we need to kind of get some
Dig into it a little
data.
bit and let planning board come up with some data.
I'd definitely like to hear more out of the public, yeah, out of this.
Okay, so you wanted to go to planning for data and recommendations?
No.
I think the data needs to be more scientific than it does public opinion.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to do the data, it needs to be done where you look at, I know for a fact like Tuesdays and Wednesdays are an issue in town because that's when a majority of the restaurants choose to close. So if you have 17 restaurants downtown, I'm just going on your number, I know they're not all restaurants, but if you have 17 restaurants, but 10 of them are closed, and you're looking at, say, even if you're looking at 40% of your hotels filled, plus residents on top of that, that is not a sustainable number to feed people in town. That's the kind of data you need to be doing, not public opinion. So I think you need to be scientific in the type of data that you're getting.
Poll the restaurants.
Exactly.
It's like, well, why don't we explore why they're closed on Tuesday and Wednesday instead of bringing in
Well, I
a
agree with that.
Band-Aid?
I mean, to
It's
me,
like-
the
it's like we
idea.
got 4 flat tires, adding 4 more tires.
Well,
Doesn't
no,
fill
I'm
up
not
the
saying
hole.
that bringing food trucks in is the answer to the issue. I'm saying we need to know where the issues are. And then to me, I would much rather see what we have in town run, and I know it's insane, but run a 7 days during prime season and take more days off during the winter when it's slower. But I can't make that decision for them and require that of someone. But I think we just need data before we can even think of what direction to go in.
I respect your opinion. You've been in the restaurant business, so, and I haven't.
Do you want to put it off on Kevin and planning to get that data, or what do you want to do?
I don't like the way that sounds. But we can get
Is that
some
how you
data
want,
better.
how
than
you want to
public
follow
opinion.
through? Let
Well, I mean,
Kevin take
I
care of it.
guess I guess I would, rely on Shane as to who would be the best person for the data collection.
David?
Yeah, all right, sure. You're not gonna like the data, but.
How are you gonna get the data?
I think we're asking, make sure we're not asking a question here of, are we asking to obtain the data before we push it to planning board, or are we putting that as a part of the overall potential request to the planning board as part of their due diligence and looking at the ordinance?
Personal opinion, I think you need the data in order to figure out what the issue is before you start changing ordinances. And then
If so-
decide if the issue is, we're lacking on these days, and our solution would be to bring in food trucks, or do we try and work with our already established restaurants to fill those gaps? Maybe they rotate the days they're closed on, or, things like that, but I don't think you can do that if you don't have the data.
If it supports David, we just let it go.
Yeah, and if we don't think there is an issue with the data, then there's no need to do anything.
So let me make sure I understand. So when you say asking for data, we're looking at a total approach of number of restaurants, patrons, wait times, turnovers, whatever we can obtain. A chamber partnership here is what I'm hearing. We need to work with the chamber and trying to gather some real data of what's out there with the 17 or whatever number of restaurants there is.
I think that's a
7-day
great idea.
approach during a couple different times. Does that sound like a fair assumption?
If we're gonna do that, then I would like to see comparable data from other towns.
Okay.
We use, other municipalities for comparison on parking and everything else. So I feel like we're operating in, a micro universe. I can't think of the right word. No, not a vacuum. Well, maybe a vacuum, I don't know. But in a snow globe.
Kinda working
We're
in a
only worried
bubble.
about
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think this is unique to us. And in any resort town. So I think there's a lot of better things that we can have the planning board be doing, but if that's the consensus, I'll go along with it.
Well, Shane had a good point, and that was let the chamber get the data.
That's why I said I rely on Shane where to go for the data.
Yeah, I think let Kevin and Robin and us have a conversation about what is out there, if anything, and how to go about getting that accurate information, and then also with comparable data that's out there. We do not have anything currently internally that would state.
And then you'll bring this back to council next week?
You good at that,
Yeah, let us put together our thoughts, with the chamber and us to gather a little bit more feedback on maybe what they feel like is possible and timeline, et cetera, and then share that back with you all, if that's fair. Not asking
Okay
the
with
planning
that?
board at this time is what I'm hearing.
David, I know you're not okay with that, but will you concede? Okay. Guys, y'all all right?
I'm a team player to an extent.
Short. All right, you good with that? Y'all good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving right along. 2025 equipment installment financing bid.
Good evening, council and mayor. I'm somewhat disappointed that the crowd did not stick around to hear our good news with our results of our bid process for our installment loan. And we are continuing to lose people as I'm speaking. I provided as part of the packet a staff report that states the details of what's before you to potentially approve. What we're asking tonight is approval of the resolution that's within your packet. What I'm going to present to you is the overall details of what took place from the annual budget process through to tonight. As part of the 25-26 budget, as you do on an annual basis, the approval of that included a number of capital items that you have in front of you: finance software, police vehicle, chipper truck, dump truck, snow plows, gator, et cetera. A total of $709,000 made up of general fund, water fund, capital equipment. Typically, we go out and solicit bids for the installment bids or installment loans for the purchase of those vehicles. It allows us to smooth out, so to speak. As we've spoke during the winter retreat and summer retreat, when we look at our debt position and how we are able to add on debt, our rolling stock, so to speak, that's what we're referring to tonight. So this is not the larger of the loans. 2.25 is coming to you in September. This is the $709,000 equipment loan that you do on an annual basis. As a part of our normal process, we utilize First Tron, which is our financial advisors, to assist us in the bidding process. What you have before you here is my staff report. We were able to start and advertise bids on July the 15th. We asked for all bids to be back on August the 5th. Again, this is for a $709,000 loan with a 4-year term. We're able to receive 7 qualified bids, 8 total, but 7 qualified bids with a low rate from First National Bank of 3.45% interest. Would like to add the 3.45% and the 7 qualified, 8 total bids are the most that First Tron has received for any debt solicitation in the past year. That includes Wade County, Charlotte, and others. I think that's a testament to our AA plus rating that we have on the bond market for us to receive that. So what you have in your packet is not only the staff report, but a term sheet that does detail out the 4-year loan at 3.45% from First National. Approximate payments $170,000 with the first payment due August the 1st of 26. So it will be included in next year's. This was part of our pro forma as we looked at during the retreat in the wintertime of utilizing our debt calculations that we have to show where our debt position is. You also have a financing calendar that shows where we are today, and our next steps is to close the following week. Resolution is before you to pass with the terms that are before you, again, 4 years, 3.45% interest with First National. First payments due August the 1st, 2026. Also, the overall installment financing agreement, and then we included in there for reference the bank RFP. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have regarding the equipment installment loan resolution.
Any questions, council? I'd like to make a motion to approve the loan through First National Bank of Pennsylvania
I think that may be
at 3.45%. We have a first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Okay, Kat?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. Pete?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, you got it.
Nice job.
Yes.
Kudos to our credit score, credit rating.
All righty. Official reports. I just, our prayers go out to the Jenkins and Rogers family in the passing of Kim Rogers. I've known her since I was 8. And it's very, very sad. And so our hearts and prayers go out to their families. And,
I don't have anything.
David?
No, I echo your comments.
Melissa?
I'm good.
Doug?
I think Hillary's gonna send it out later on, but, just a reminder, the COG banquet, which is October 10th. And, we'd like to get y'all signed up. We'd love for council to come.
Okay.
And congratulations to our police pinning tonight. Glad to see that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doug.
I enjoyed it.
Just one thing, we have our Economic Development Commission meeting on the 21st, Thursday at 1 o'clock. Speaker is going to be Nathan Nipper, the president of the hospital. That should be very interesting to hear what's going on with everything at the hospital and ambulance service. So you all are invited to come.
Pete's at the, where is that located?
It's going to be at the Beaver Nursing School right next to the hospital.
Perfect.
On the ground floor.
Joey? Shane?
stand for an update. Start with our Main Street paving, or I should say Main Street markings. So we were finally able to catch a break in the past week with the weather, and the contractor for the Main Street project was able to come and do the majority of the markings. They're still missing crosswalks and a few things, but we're getting there with the markings. So we're very appreciative of the work. I think the street overall looks fantastic. Nothing but great compliments. Maple Street, Green Street paving is next. We spoke to the contractor, which will be Moretz Paving. They are working currently behind Walmart and Boone on that milling and paving job, and then we have been assured that we're next in line. So hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be able to move forward with the milling of Maple and the Green Street. And then at that point, we do not have any further plans to do any construction work within the streets of Blowing Rock unless we have a mishap or an unfortunate water line or sewer line break. Memorial Park project's moving along. The shelter is just about complete. They're working on the wrapping of the post, and then they'll backfill the area around it. Shuffleboard is complete other than the markings. Tennis court has been rolled. Now we're waiting on some good weather to start the pouring, and then pickleball will be the same. And then essentially the final piece will be the sidewalk along Wallingford. Again, that project remains on schedule. We're hoping to have partial completion in the next, we'll say 45 days, and substantial, if not full completion, within 60 days of now. Valley View Road, that's our Helene, our last project. We were making great progress. We met with McGill Engineering and Catawba Valley Engineering yesterday, and we're close to having a bid-ready document where we're able to finalize the scope of the project that will include allowing the road, Valley View and Old Orchard to be open for the overwhelming majority, if not full, of the project, which is something we really were striving for the residents that were down there. We're going to utilize a combination of soil nails along with foundation work, gabion baskets to be able to put the shoulder back on Valley View and Old Orchard. Very difficult project because of where it's at, very difficult project because it does not allow for another entrance or exit to Valley View or Old Orchard. So appreciative of the work that's been put in by McGill and Catawba Valley Engineering up to this point to get us a scope that's going to allow for that to take place. So you will have something before you at the next meeting or two to approve, hopefully, if, once we receive qualified bids. So we'll start seeing that go out.
Now, this is FEMA reimbursed?
This is.
Okay.
On the FEMA account, I would like to make reference because I don't think we did last month. We were able to receive back 100% of our financial outlay for FEMA prior to June 30th. Several times in the past, we had given you an update that was potential or had a potential of not being able to receive back our funding prior to the end of the fiscal year. Other than the Valley View project, which has not expended money to this point outside of engineering, we were able to receive back 100% of the monies that have been outlaid in all the projects that we have within the town by FEMA to make ourselves whole from a cash outflow standpoint. So Ms. Brown's not here tonight. She's under the weather, but I'm going to say thank you to her because I'm sure she's listening for the hard work and staying on top of FEMA and others to receive those reimbursements prior to the end of the year. Very fortunate. Along the same lines, Ms. Brown is also queuing up, ready for the audit that will be taking place with field work the 1st of September. That's our financial audit. She did want me to pass along her appreciation for you all and support with providing back the responses for fraud, et cetera, as timely as you did. And the audit field work will take place again the 1st of September with hopefully the completion and presentation later in the fall to you all. This time that concludes my updates. We'd be glad to answer any questions you may have on any topic regarding the town. Yes, sir.
Loading zones and signage.
Yes, signage has been ordered. We were hoping that the loading zones would be marked on Main Street. They have hashed them out. We're going to do Sunset and the lettering along Main Street just as soon as we get good enough weather to do so. But signage has been ordered, yes.
Reference lining, striping?
Yes.
If we're doing, who's doing it on Sunset? Us?
Yes, us.
We need to go ahead and upgrade the lines that are already there. They're fading.
The parking lines, et cetera.
Parking lines and center line.
Okay.
If we can make that happen.
Sure, absolutely. Any other questions? Thank you all.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into closed session in about 5 minutes under
North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5, discussion of potential property acquisition, and North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11,